Hey Ife, how are you, my lovely?
Hey, yeah, I'm good, thanks. How about you?
Good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm loving how we're getting the red memo on our tops going here. This is nice. Nice
Oh,
telepathy.
yes.
Nice telepathy. That's good. Thank you
Accidentally in
so much.
sync.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for spending some time with the Me Project this afternoon to talk about self-esteem. And to kick off with, what does
No
having
worries.
value look like to you?
So yeah, actually, self-esteem is something that I've struggled with a lot. And there's actually a phrase that I tell myself, and it's put down the bat. So what I mean by that is, there's that saying we like to beat ourselves up a lot.
Mm,
So sometimes we are the architects of our own poor self-esteem.
mm,
So people can speak like things over us and say things to us and things like that. But
mm.
it's when we let it in and start to believe it that we start to try and decrease our own value.
Wow.
So when we think negatively about ourselves and think those things about ourselves, I have this picture of like me like holding a bat and trying to beat myself up with it. And
Mm.
when you think about doing something like that to yourself physically, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So why do we do things like that to ourselves mentally when our
Mm.
mental health is just as important as our physical health?
Yeah.
Within that, every time that we compare ourselves to someone, comparison is something that I've struggled with a lot as
Yeah.
well. That is essentially like we're still hitting ourselves with a bat when we look at someone else and we're thinking, I want what they have, or I wish I was more like them,
Yeah.
when actually we can only be ourselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think in terms of how do I stop doing that, it's a case of recognizing that I am imperfect. We're
Yeah.
all imperfect.
Yeah.
We all have flaws,
Yeah.
and within that, though, for everything that we might consider wrong, let's say
Yeah.
about ourselves,
Yeah.
there's something that's right
Yeah.
about us.
Love that.
And there are so many more things that are right than are wrong, and those are the things that we need to focus on,
Yeah.
rather than the things that we see ourselves as wrong.
Yeah.
So if you're someone that likes to beat yourself up, it's time to put down the bat.
Put down the bat. I love that phrase. Put down the bat. So if I in your life and in that process that you've gone on of putting down the bat, which is such a cool phrase, how's that changed your day-to-day living?
Um, how's that changed my day-to-day living? Well, I think that when you know your value, it
Mm-hmm.
gives you confidence,
Mm.
and it gives me a peace about myself.
Mm.
Because if you're going to find, or you're going to look for validation in some way, shape, or form. If
Mm.
you're not getting that validation from yourself, you're going to look for it in other people.
Mm.
And I used to really dislike myself, and I
Mm.
was such a people pleaser because I
Mm.
disliked myself. I needed other people to like me,
Mm.
so much so that I'd change my opinion to try and fit other people's, change what I think to try and seem more
Mm.
cool, or do things at a detriment to myself, but
Mm.
not in a giving way, in a sort of unhealthy way.
Mm.
And all those things are trying to get validation.
Mm.
But when you can give yourself validation, that enables you to walk into a room with confidence, knowing that it doesn't matter if not everybody likes me, because I like me. I have the
Yeah.
validation that I seek, that I need.
Yeah.
And when we rely on other people for our validation,
Yeah.
when they don't give that, then that's something that can sort of mentally destroy us, because then we have no validation.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
so
think
good.
yeah, it gives me confidence, to
Yeah.
know that not everyone's going to like me, and that's okay because I like me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what helped you realize that validation that you do have, and what helped you realize that situation of like putting down the bat and growing confidence?
Um, I think it's because a lot of the time we're sort of afraid to show the real us because
Mm.
of, like, what other people are going to think and what other people are going to say. But
Yeah.
Actually, I'm quite a learn by experience kind of person.
Yeah.
And I've sort of found in my life that the deeper connections that I've made, the deeper friendships that I've made have been formed when I am myself rather than the person I was pretending to be to try and get people to like me.
Yeah.
Um, Another big part of that for me is actually God. I'm a Christian,
Mm.
so I love God. I believe that God loves me. God
Yeah.
loves all of us, and He created us just the way that we are.
Yeah.
He created me, every hair on my head, every part of me, everything
Mm.
that's good, everything that's bad, on purpose, for a purpose. And sometimes when I think of, oh, I wish I was more like this. An example is I play a couple of instruments and I play guitar.
Yeah, you do.
And
He's
yeah,
a
I
great
love
player.
guitar. But the thing is, I'll always look at someone else and be like, oh, I wish I could play like them. I wish I
Yeah.
was as good as them. And I'll
Yeah.
turn myself down and say, oh, I'm just average, I'm mediocre. But then when I think about it, I'm like, well, that time that I could have spent playing guitar, I did spoken word instead. Would I
Mm.
rather be a great guitar player and not have this passion for spoken word, or would I
Yeah.
rather be the way I am?
Yeah.
So sometimes those things that we're like, oh, I wish I was more like that.
Yeah.
In reality, those things were made on purpose for a purpose.
Yeah.
I have a very short attention span, so I don't think I can sit in my room and play guitar every day for hours and hours, because
Yeah.
that's actually what's needed to become, you know, an elite level guitarist. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't do that, and
Yeah.
that's good because actually now I can put that energy into other things.
Yeah.
So it's sort of the way we look at it in terms of, are we looking at it as, oh, I have a short attention span, I can't focus on anything?
Yeah.
Or are we looking at it as, that means that I can pick up more things or I can
Yeah.
do more things?
Yeah. It's so good. It's so, so good. And I guess, and also, was like you said, so taking your guitar skills, you could look at somebody else and go, oh, look at them. Equally, there are other people who maybe don't play an instrument at all, or have just started out playing guitar and are looking at you going, wow, I wish I could play like Ife, da da da. And I know you're going to be like, yeah, well, whatever, but I've seen you play. and so it's also like what you were saying about comparison, though, it's so true, because we just end up in this bizarre cycle of everybody looking at somebody else and nobody being contented, but the person you're like thinking everybody else is contented apart from you. And so, yeah, as you know, exactly as you said, like, put down that bat, stop beating yourself up, and know that what you've put yourself to in far as learning those skills or talents or whatever it may be, like, embrace them and enjoy it. That's so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
So if for somebody watching this clip that is maybe, you know, like you've mentioned, kind of where you were changing your opinions to try and fit other people, maybe they're thinking how much they relate to your story of, yeah, I do that, I do this, and not really feeling like they have many skills or talents to offer, what would you say to them? What would be your advice to your younger self even?
Yeah, good question. There's a quote that I really like by Margaret Thatcher, I think, and it's beware of your thoughts, for they become your actions. For they become your words. Beware of your words, for they become your actions. Beware of your actions, for that becomes your habit. Beware of your habit, for that becomes your character.
Oh.
So it all starts with your thoughts and how you think about yourself and how you perceive yourself. And if we're in a constant state of negativity about ourselves, then that is going to come out in everything that we do, in everything that we say. So I think my tip would be to try and reprogram your thoughts. Every morning, like, look at yourself in the mirror and say 3 good things about yourself, 3 things that you like about yourself. Every time we have those negative thoughts of, oh, I wish I was more like that, instead, every time you have it, say to yourself, I'm going to replace that with a positive one and say, oh, I'm happy I'm like this, or I'm happy I can do this.
Yeah.
And I think when we go through that, we're sort of training ourselves to think differently about a situation and about ourselves, And then that in turn is going to impact then the way that we behave and the way that we respond to things without even realizing, because we've changed those sort of thoughts internally. So that's what I would suggest, trying to sort of reprogram the way that we think about ourselves.
Awesome. Replacing those negatives with positives as they come.
Yeah.
Bam. Wisdom right there. Wisdom right there. Awesome. Ife, thank you so much. It was lovely to see you again, and you take
Thank you
care.
for having me. Yeah,
Bye.
you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.